The Vols had 6 head coaches over the last 25 seasons, and we're going to rank them. Let's start at the bottom and work our way. Is that what we said we're going to do? We'll start at the bottom and work our way up? All right. So I put these in order of past to newest. So Fulmer's the furthest back. He was replaced by Kiffin, by Dooley, by Jones, by Pruitt, by Heupel. All right. If we're going with the bottom, who was the worst guy on this list?
Dooley.
It's pretty easy.
I'm gonna go with Pruitt.
Yeah, I would go Pruitt, but you played for Dooley.
But
So
this guy was there.
Go. Tell me, make your case for Derek Dooley, because Pruitt left him in NCAA hell.
Yeah.
Mess. So make your case for Dooley.
My case for Dooley is we're ready to go play Georgia versus Todd Gurley, day of the game, and I'm mentally focused. I'm the captain on one of those teams, and he proceeds to tell me that he paid $5,000 for his orange pants. So there's some fan with some orange pants on. He says they're fake. For me, I was like, all right, that cat is not
focused
very
on that.
good. He got to go. So I would say Dooley at the bottom, but I didn't play for Pruitt.
Okay.
I would say Pruitt also, just because of the ramifications you felt from him, even beyond the times that
You're
he
still
was there.
dealing with it.
Yeah.
There's still some bodies that you're missing each year. Ollie, you played for Pruitt. You put him at the bottom of this list?
You know, my heart really wants to. You know, a lot of people have heard me say some of the stuff that I've said about Jeremy Pruitt and the things that we went through. However, I will give him one thing. He won us a Tax Slayer Bowl, and that's something that Dooley didn't really consistently take us to anything after the season. So you kind of got to give him that. But at the same note, with the NC scandals and stuff like that, it hurt more of just the face of Tennessee than it did just the football team. So that's why I'd put Pruitt below at the bottom.
This is, okay. So agreed. Media wins this one. Sorry, Marlon.
Yeah.
Pruitt, I mean, it's just, to me, it's not only the 3-7 season. You actually, for the first time ever, had wins that were erased by the NCAA, but that was your worst ever NCAA hammer drop on this program. Now, granted, part of that was because UT turned everything in and wanted him gone, but still, he's in a special class in my view. Who's next worst? Is this where we go, Dooley?
I think
Got to be.
I think you can get consensus
I
on
think
that
you
one.
can make a case. There's an argument that, you never should have fired Fulmer, and I get that. At the same time, 2 losing seasons in 4 years at one of the big boys in the SEC, they don't survive. So it wasn't that, it's who you hired after him. You go and you get Kiffin, and then Kiffin leaves, and that's where the nightmare began.
Yeah.
You went into this desperation mode. You should have just handed it to Kippy Brown as your interim, and instead you go to Louisiana. Well, you go all over the country, turned down, different people talking to different coaches.
Publicly.
It was publicly. It was a total mess.
Yeah.
And you wind up going for a coach who was 4-8 at Louisiana Tech. So Derek Dooley, without doubt, is next.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've got Heupel, Jones, Kiffin, Fulmer. And for this exercise, this is 2000s Phillip Fulmer. This doesn't count 90s Phillip Fulmer. That's what we agreed to before the show. So who is next on this list? Is it Butch Jones? Or is it Lane Kiffin, who was here for 1 year and vapor trailed you?
Me personally, I think you got to, as much as I love, as the players, we loved Kiffin, just his energy. I think you got to go Kiffin because Jones had some good years in there.
The only thing that I disagree with that is he did have, not counting the COVID season, he had the worst record that any coach has had at the University of Tennessee. So I mean that to me kind of puts him lower. Then some
Of course, he was out for the last 2, so those really weren't him. But
I mean, yeah,
4 and 6,
technicality,
4 and 8
we
year.
can put an asterisk by it, I guess, but
Yeah.
it still wasn't very good to watch.
Yeah.
I think if you go totality, even though he's a better coach, I would put Kiffin next, even though I think he's a much better coach than Butch Jones is.
Did more damage.
But yes, just the way that everything here was handled.
I think it's Kiffin too. Jonathan Crompton getting the most out of that roster. He was popular, and you were excited about his hope, but you're just judging him based on the one season there. So I do think he has to be next.
He was popular right until he left, and then he was the most hated man I've ever seen around here.
sure, yeah.
And then somehow he was rehabbed.
But the hate was there because of the love.
Were you going to say
No,
something?
no, no, no.
Okay. You're cool with Kiffin next?
Kiffin, yeah,
Okay.
Kiffin. Unfortunately.
All right. So then you had this false hope. I'm guessing Jones is next, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You had this kind of false hope. I mean, he had 2 9-4 seasons. He beats number 11 South Carolina in 2013, his second year. So you're thinking, okay, maybe this is turning. 2 9-4 seasons. The second 9-4 didn't end well, so it was a bad 9-4. But still, you had a stretch in there over 2 seasons. You won 11 straight games.
Yeah.
that felt pretty good. You're thinking good things, and then off the cliff. So let's get past that, and let's just talk Fulmer or Heupel. This is 2000s Fulmer versus Heupel.
Well, and if you look at what Josh Heupel has done in 4 years and what Fulmer did his last 8 years, Heupel's highs came close to Fulmer's highs during those same period. And since he's only been here 4 years, he doesn't have the negatives to go with it. So I think it's got to be Josh Heupel. I mean, Fulmer had some good years in that 4, but then he also had the bad ones. You got to grade that. Heupel so far, to me, has not had a bad year.
I guess Fulmer's best bowl in that run was the Citrus Bowl in 01.
Yeah.
And Heupel's got a Citrus Bowl. He's also got an Orange Bowl. He's also got a playoff berth.
You know,
So,
and,
yeah.
and
But
Fulmer
he
had
hadn't been
an
here long
SEC
either.
championship game.
He
know,
did.
he played in
he had
SEC
2001, 2000,
Yeah, three.
and
So he
2004
took 2.
and 2007.
So, I mean, I think
he had
it-
3 SEC
I
titles.
think it's
that's winning
relatively
an easy
close.
East.
But so far, Heupel has not had a negative season, in my opinion.
I would say that's the reason why I've got Fulmer as my number 1 on the board,
Okay.
because he has played for 3 SEC championships. We haven't gotten there with Josh Heupel yet. We've had some good seasons, but we haven't beaten Georgia enough to even get in that
Good
position.
point. Yeah.
True enough. So even though it's no longer the East Division, it's harder to get there now. But even if it had been the old system, you wouldn't have gotten there with Georgia beating you this year. Yeah. Anyway, what do you?
Yeah, I mean-
where are you, Fulmer or Heupel?
So to me, a lot of this, in my own personal thoughts, will get settled after seeing how this coming season plays out for Josh Heupel. You know, seeing the last few years, he's had some bigger name guys. Obviously, not the first year because we didn't know Hendon as well, but as the years went on, he's had some bigger name guys and has put good product out there. It's going to be enticing to see, without the big names, without the big expectations, if he's able to still put it out there on the table this year. And that's something that I think would separate this a little bit more. But in my eyes, I think you guys are right. You know, Heupel's right there on par with where Coach Fulmer was at. And, I mean, as far as legendary-wise, you know, you still feel that legendary presence with Coach Fulmer. But I think Josh Heupel's surpassing him.
Quickly.
Boy,
Sorry, you
it's
left with the last
close. I will give a slight edge to Josh Heupel based on how he had to redo this roster, in addition to not having the downtime, whereas Fulmer had it rolling prior to and had that base to go off of. But it's close.
If we're counting the 90s, I think Fulmer's number 1 with a
Yes.
validity
Right.
national title. It was the greatest run in 50 years. But I think just right now you got to go Heupel. I do want to see where it goes like Ollie, but I'm not just going to say it after this year. If anything, you look at what he inherited. We showed you those numbers to start the show. To look at him at 71%, I don't think he's appreciated enough. I think if he has an 8-4 this year, I mean, Fulmer had some of those. I'm not going to freak out if it's an 8-4 year and a kind of a rebuilding season. We'll see what happens long term, but I'm impressed by what he's done so far. That's our list: Heupel, Fulmer, Jones, Kiffin, Dooley, Pruitt,